then how to design corporate currencies using blockchain, the way Facebook is doing with Libra. Or if you are into enterprise space, then what kind of enterprise blockchains you need to develop in-house so that you can actually build quality solutions, because there are at present multiple blockchains, out of which to start. Then we are developing programs for policy think tanks and bureaucrats, because very few people actually understand blockchain. So in this way, we are building multiple programs, both for permission blockchains as well as public blockchains, like this. And
how many types of blockchain?
no, we will come to that. You don't worry about that.
No, you said something. Public and otherwise.
Don't worry, I will come to that. I'm just introducing myself. So these are things that we have been doing. Okay, let me start formally. This session will be spread over next 3 hours. And the first part of the session is basically conceptual. And the second part is course related. And what are the kind of things that we will be doing here, and what are the areas which are going to be very interesting for you. Okay, see friends, the fact here is, as far as technology is concerned, anybody who understands distributed systems can understand blockchain in less than 10 minutes. Less than 10 minutes. Despite this thing being so simple, people still don't understand blockchain. And this is a very serious paradox. If it is so simple, why don't people understand? And I'm going to answer that particular question in the next 90 minutes. Okay? See, the fact here is that while we live, we actually take certain things for granted. We take money for granted. We take business contracts for granted. We take law for granted. We take more or less all institutions for granted. We actually don't question the kind of operating system that we live inside. Let me remind you that all of us are living inside an operating system about which you cannot identify what are the components of that operating system. It's like asking a fish, can you introduce water? But the fact is, we are all like fish, and we live inside some sort of an operating system about which we don't question at all. And my first job here is to decondition you, to enable you to go out of the system and build a bird-eye perspective so that you can actually see what happens inside a system. Because the fact here is that blockchain conceptually is more difficult, technologically it's pretty simple. Whatever you do through cloud computing, this is a system where entire thing is virtualized. Okay? In blockchain, you do the same things, In that sense, blockchain is very, very simple. But having said this, people still don't understand. People don't understand why this is a big disruption. And that disruption part is conceptually very, very paradoxical. And that's why I'm saying to you that you are actually a fish who is trying to understand the nature of water. And that's why, without jumping into blockchain, I will discuss two things. One is trust, rather cost of trust. And second thing is the history of legit technology. In these two perspectives, you will be able to understand blockchain far, far better. Okay? See, the fact here is we all need trust in an economy. And it's very obvious that trust is important for all kinds of economic exchange and all kinds of economic coordination. And this trust enables us to build a transactional framework in a repetitive manner, in a scalable manner, in an efficient manner. For example, when you make a Paytm payment, it is assumed as given. It will happen. It is now part of our some sort of a digital DNA. 20 years back, there was no Paytm. Scrolling down a Facebook feed is now part of our digital DNA. 20 years back, it was not there. So if I had asked you 20 years back to imagine something like Paytm or Facebook's news feed, it would have been difficult. So the first challenge for blockchain is to actually unlock your imagination and build an outsider's perspective that what are things actually operating inside. Okay. Now the fact here is that what you call human beings are very interesting species. I won't say they are selfish. I would only say that they are heterogeneous. When I say heterogeneous, they have different interests. And everybody would like to maximize one's own interest. When you try to maximize your own interests, then you actually lose the systemic side. For example, you live in a system where taxation, direct and indirect taxation, is a standard. Now, if somebody doesn't pay tax, what does it mean? That person is trying to garner share which should have belonged to somebody else. Because it's a common pie. Tax is a common pool out of which funds will go out. Now, if one person is not paying one's due taxes, it means it is some sort of a punishment for all those people who are paying taxes. In that sense, somebody's gain is somebody's loss. So it's a zero-sum game. The fact here is there has not been any system till date in the history of mankind where this kind of zero-sum game could have been avoided. We are prone to playing these zero-sum games. And it means if we human beings are heterogeneous, we are prone to zero-sum games, then how to build trust? That is a fundamental question for human society. And we have tried to answer this question by building large organizations. And those large organizations are somehow trust bearer organizations, or in another words, I can say they are custodians of your trust. Central bank, stock exchange, government, registrar, all these players are custodian of trust. Now the issue here is, if they are the custodians of trust, then trust is something which may be of a very high quality in Europe, maybe of a less high quality in India, and maybe of very poor quality in Africa. It means trust is a very, very fragile precondition of all economic activities. It means that if you want to become a developed economy, if you want to build an efficient resource utilization framework, then trust has to be there, and that has to be of high quality. And that's where the biggest problem lies. The biggest. Because trust is something which is central to whatever system that we build. Now, the issue here is that at present, we have built an invisible grammar of that trust. Like the way I said, that like a fish, you don't question water. Similarly, we as human beings have built institutions, governments, they're institutions. But if you see broader level, the fact here is that we have created a common grammar, which is some sort of a political institution. And that is a grammar that we trust. We don't question it at all. Zero question. If government is doing something, then it is good. The fact is, government is also a conglomeration of peoples. Government is application of ideas. Government is building of systems. And in that sense, all of them can be faulty. But we still say, whatever government will be final. Why? Because deep down, we have assumed that this political institutional model of trust is fine. Because let's assume there is a meeting, all the people are sitting, and a very critical decision has to be made. And that critical decision is, this government is corrupt, change the government. Okay? You'll be surprised, as far as agreement on changing the government is concerned, it can be reached far easier. But as far as agreement on rebuilding the government is concerned, who will become the chief minister? Who will become the finance minister? Who will become the home minister? This will be much more difficult, because the model of government is same, that is centralized model. Ultimately, if there is one pyramid of decision making called government, which means all those procedures, all those formalities will have to be repeated. It means for last 5,000 years, humanity has lived under this poor language. Lack of design. The fact here is that In last 5,000 years, we built governments. All governments were centralized. We built empires. All empires were centralized. We built banks. All banks were centralized. We built stock exchanges. All were centralized. We built companies. All companies were centralized. For example, when you discuss Sensex, Sensex is a collection of 30 top companies, how their market value is performing. And whether you say Infosys, whether you say TCS, whether you say RIL, whether you say SGS or whatever, what are these? These are brands. And these are brands controlled by centralized organizations. So the fact here is, the moment you say Sensex has gone beyond 40,000 or Nifty has gone beyond 11,000, you are actually saying something which is very, very obvious, that our trust in those players, those organizations has gone up. But the fact here is, whatever is happening at the stock exchange level, is it equally true of the economy? It's a very paradoxical thing that economy is going towards a recession. Its fiscal deficit is out of control, and Sensex is going up. How these two things can be simultaneously true? And I'm not talking about just India. For example, let me share one fact with you. In 2015, Apple had a certain price earnings. In 2019, those levels, price earnings levels are same. But Apple's stock, Apple's share is twice the value what it was in 2015. How can that happen? It means that Apple is going out in the market and repurchasing its own shares because they have a huge cash. Now the fact here is, buying your own shares is a very good thing. It's very good for your shareholders. But the point here is, does it not encourage passive investment? If it encourages passive investment, it means that deeper down we are moving from organic growth to a passive growth. What do we need? Organic growth. Now the issue here is that if this is example of Apple, this example fits on at least 1,000 different large companies across the world. It means we have realized that trust is now moving more and more towards fragile conditions. If trust is fragile, then what to do? Because trust is located in an organization, and that organization is losing its trust. So if there is trust deficit, how to recreate the trust? You cannot create an Apple in 10 days. So this is the predicament that we all are living under. Because it takes years and decades, and sometimes centuries to build a trust model. Now, if trust deficit in those institutions is there, then how to correct it? This is the fundamental question. And you must have felt that in 2008, when first economic recession came, I'm assuming that we have already entered into second economic recession. If you see European economic growth rates, they are already in the territory. So even in India, for the last 2 quarters, GDP growth rate has declined. So technically we are in recession, though we may not accept it, but this is a fact. Now, if this entire world is moving towards a situation where in 2008 you saw recession, after that all the central banks started quantitative easing, they started printing more money, and that money went back into the market, asset prices, boom. Actual economy never moved. And that problem is now resurfacing. So recession is again there. Now, even at 0% rates, central banks are not able to kickstart the economy. Now, this is the situation where even the current trust infrastructure, the current trust architecture that we had built is not helping us. If somebody tells you that GDP is going at 5%, your response would be, then so what? My job is at stake. That's a fact. It means somehow the entire trust infrastructure which we were used to is now under threat. And you don't know how to rebuild it because the model of trust is not easy to replace. In 2008, we realized that central banks should do something. They did, but that went in wrong direction. Now, in 2020 or in 2019, what you would do to remove recession from the economy? Your hands are tied. So, in certain sense, I am saying that we are at the optimal limit of utilizing our trust infrastructure. There is something wrong. And that something wrong is not just in the persons. That something wrong is not just in the institution. That something wrong is actually inside the architecture of that trust. And that architecture needs to be understood if you want to change it. Okay? Now, thing is that if I want to identify, if I want to build the contours of that trust infrastructure or that trust architecture, let me start saying it simply that nation state can be called an architecture of trust. Now, that nation state is built on certain elements. The first element is border, territoriality. This is India, this is Pakistan, this is China. Land border, sea border, air. All those borders do exist. But this is the model that was invented roughly more than 400 years back in Treaty of Westphalia in 1648. 1648. So, this model needs to change. Now, in order to safeguard this model, supposed to be protected by judiciary. Now, this nation state is a very, very weak structure. How? If you see an iceberg, you only see the tip of iceberg, which is visible to you. But as far as the invisible part of that iceberg is concerned, that is much, much deep down. Titanic ship actually sank just because they were not able to see that invisible part. So the thing is that here, if you see these four things, nation is actually inside your mind. And that insight is actually controlled by conceptual monopoly of money, ledger, law, and labor. Labor reward means. When you say money, uh, there is something which is this is money, right? Okay. Now, what's your good name? Shruti. Shruti, can we do one experiment? Can you assume yourself as Reserve Bank of India governor? Okay. So you're not Shruti, you are Shaktikant Das right now. Okay. So Mr. Shaktikant Das, give me 200 bucks. This says you have written, I promise to pay the bearer. I promise to pay the bearer sum of 200 rupees. Bearer means whosoever holds this paper currency note will be given 200 rupees. Please give me 200 rupees. This is a paper note. So Mr. Shaktikant Das, please give me 200 bucks. Give me. Yeah, this is your legal guarantee. Sovereign guarantee. Yeah, please. Yeah. I'm discussing a very simple concept, money. Okay? So please give me. Is a trust. Exactly. Exactly. The fact here is it mentioned here that no inflation will happen? If had it been mentioned, would you have trusted it? Is it mentioned here that demonetization can happen subject to certain conditions? Is it mentioned here? Is the exact date and time of printing of this paper money is mentioned? Now you people are all intelligent. You can very well understand that if these fundamental conditions are not mentioned on this paper currency note, then who is it sued? We. And I'm talking of fundamental human existence of all the 1.3 billion Indians. Your life depends upon this. You use it because you trust it. And if this trust is gone, you're doomed. I'm asking very simple questions. That this is a legal contract between you as a citizen and the central bank. And central bank is not fulfilling even the most fundamental conditions of contract. Am I right?
That's what I'm getting more.
Exactly. Now, what is demonetization? Demonetization is basically a single point failure system. If you are not challenging it, why you are not challenging it? Because it is built upon a single point failure system. Because ultimately, in an economy, you have assumed that there has to be a central bank. If there has to be a central bank, then there has to be a cost of that maintaining that central bank. And since that cost is always there, so you will never question a central bank. Do you know that we as an economy are a long-term inflationary economy? If you compare income cycles of 3 generations, you'll be surprised. Let me share my own story. My grandpa, who used to work in 50s and 60s, uh, had 7 kids, and he was a middle class. He used to earn $50 a month. $50 a month. He was a middle class, a very good, comfortable middle class. My father, in 80s, used to earn $500 a month. He had 4 kids, and he was a middle class. When I decided left teaching, I used to earn $50,000 a month, and I had only 1 kid, and I was still the middle class. And when I say middle class means with one financial emergency, you're down the drain. When emergency comes, and you don't know how to manage that. And in one generation, every time 1 or 2 emergencies will come, and you will remain middle class. You will never have that surplus in order to reach upper class. And that's the tragedy of hundreds of millions of Indians. Why? Because in long term, we are living in inflationary economy. If 3 generations could not transcend the barriers of middle class, it means what is wrong? What is wrong? There is something wrong with the imagination of plus architecture. Because we don't know how to replace the trust architecture. And that's why beyond a certain point, we stop asking. We get used to this thing so much that the entire social conditioning becomes whatever it is, let it be. Let it be. So in that kind of a situation, it becomes pretty impossible to build an alternative. And that's where these conceptual monopolies actually work. So money is the first monopoly. And second monopoly instrument is ledger. Why demonetization was successful? Successful in a sense that somebody could say that 86% of a currency would be demonetized. Because central bank controls ledger. The one who controls your ledger is more powerful than any richest person on earth. Because you knew that if you want to get back into your economic transactional mode, then you will have to change these currency notes from the previous ledger mechanism to a new ledger mechanism, which means your old currency note will be replaced by a new currency note, because the one who controls ledger has said that the previous currency notes are not valid anymore. So they are no more legal tender. It means the monopoly of ledger is the most important thing. And recently, there were whistleblowing incidents in Infosys, where they are in ledger. The ledger is not controlled by public, ledger is controlled by limited number of people. Of course, ledger comes out to you, but after 3 months or after 1 year, as far as actual executive control of that ledger is concerned, that is still controlled by a few. This Punjab and Maharashtra Cooperative Bank, ledger was there, and only a few people could see that ledger. And those ledger managers did a biggest scam. They did not highlight those things. And that's why today thousands of people have lost their money. So monopoly over ledger is a very important thing. And then law. You don't make law. You cannot make law. The only thing here that you can do is, the only thing that you can elect a representative who will make law on your behalf. You cannot make law. But this is a system, electoral democracy, in which you cannot participate in governance on a direct basis. And finally, labor reward. This is the biggest addiction. Earning your livelihood in 9 to 6 manner, daily, every week, every year, is the biggest addiction. Can you imagine a world where instead of depending on single livelihood for an entire year, you can have 20 different jobs in a year and earning double what you are earning right now? Can you imagine that kind of a situation? Practically impossible. Can you imagine a situation where this person is earning through Facebook likes? Okay, can you imagine? From one day of course, Facebook likes. Same person earning through YouTube comments. Same person earning through giving one's laptop and desktop and mobile phone for extra storage, earning through that. Can you imagine like this? Can you imagine that this person earning some money by teaching students from Kenya online? Same single day. And in the evening, earning some money. At present, we cannot. But the fact is that we are moving towards backward. So, this labor reward is so much seriously a part of our daily addiction that we cannot imagine our life without that. Whatever you are studying, you assume that after studying you will get a labor reward, you will get a salary. The fact here is that this dominant model of trust. You don't question it, but the fact is you need to question it. Please. Okay? And of course, you try to justify that we have distributed powers among 3 organs of government, all those things. But now these 4 conceptual monopolies then have further 4 institutional monopolies. When I say monopoly, monopoly means something which you cannot challenge at an architectural level. Taxation. If GST is 18%, you have to pay 18%. If you don't pay, then it is a criminal act. It's an offense. Banking. Have you ever bothered to ask what kind of banking system that we live inside? Banking is banking. But the fact is, this is fractional reserve bank. As per law, any bank can lend 10 times its equity. 10 times its equity. Which means it has $100 in its kitty, it can lend up to $1,000. $1,000 means, how can that be possible? It will take assets from you as collateral, and it will create time deposits under your name and will charge interest on those payments. It means it is creating credit, and this credit is linked to your unit of account, which is this. The fact is that central bank of the country has given money creation power to these banks. That's a fact. You'll be surprised. 88% of money supply in the economy is created by commercial banks in India. At present, 21 to 22 trillion rupees is the amount of currency printed by RBI, which is with the public. And our total money supply is around 200 trillion rupees. 200 trillion rupees, which means roughly 1:10 ratio. Now, the fact here is this model banking is a fractional reserve bank model. It means if a bank has lent $1,000 and equity is 100 and 20% is NPA, which means 200 rupees is the loss. The bank is virtually bankrupt, but bank will still not die because this bank has been guaranteed a certain safety by RBI, because this money has been lent in rupees. So bank's liability ultimately becomes central bank liability, which is called too big to fail. Why? In 2008, Central Bank of America started quantitative easing. They gave $4.5 trillion to troubled banks who had bad assets. $4.5 trillion. Because your banking system is actually a binary system. Commercial banks are actually linked with a central bank system. And if a commercial bank is dying, particularly public sector banks, then central bank will only keep giving more and more capital to these commercial banks so that they can continue to roll over. Which means that NPL will not go down, rather equity from your pocket, your taxation money will start going into banking capital. So this is the trust architecture I'm saying. And you cannot do anything about it because you don't control this thing. And then corporations. Majority of economic value is built by private bodies, and these private bodies exist in the form of public limited companies, private limited companies, LLPs, or whatever. And all of these are centralized corporations, and they operate as per corporate law. And then electoral institutions, political parties, and political parties are something which you are forced to accept. Can you tell me which was the last important political party that was created in India? The last important political party was AAP 5 years back. And it rules only one state, and that was a small state, NCR, Delhi. Apart from AAP, can you remember any other political party? Why? Can you rule in this country without becoming a part of political party? What does that mean? That in a country, you cannot rule without becoming a part of political party, and you don't remember the last time a new political party was created. What does that mean? Don't you think it's a very, very conflicting statement? It means the entry towards making a political party is, is fraught with barriers. Political parties might do some sort of a competition among themselves, but they will not let a new player emerge as a political party. Okay? Now, if you go back and just see this slide, I have told you 9 elements. First, territoriality, which means borders of nation state. Then money, ledger, law, labor, reward. 1 plus 4, 5. Then taxation, banking, corporation, and electoral institutions. Okay? 1 plus 5, 1 plus 4 plus 4, 9. These 9 institutions or 9 elements of nation state are the trust infrastructure in which you are living. Okay? The fact here is, there is a cost of that trust infrastructure. Who pays the cost? You pay the cost. And that's where everybody needs to be reminded that every society needs trust, but every trust infrastructure has a cost. And that cost has to be paid by the citizens who are beneficiary of that trust infrastructure. Now, how deep, how high that cost would be depends upon that infrastructure. Okay? Now, within this, if we just focus on money, the fact here is that we have assumed that there would be one authority, one sovereign authority in a particular territory, that it will even if you know that this is an incorrect contract, even if you know this trust infrastructure would say, still, that doesn't change the fundamental reality. Central bank governor would say, we are the lender of the last resort. Okay, let's assume 2% is the cost of maintaining money. It has to be there, because in any economy, there is no free lunch. Okay? If there is no free lunch, it means that this lender of the last resort is something with which we will have to go with, cope up. You can't escape it. In India, it is rupee. In China, it is yuan. In Japan, it is yen. In America, it is dollar. But everywhere, this lender of the last resort is there. You simply cannot challenge it, because this is the trust architecture. And this consensus that we are going to be, our economic life, our monetary life will be governed by this consensus mechanism, actually builds the complete monetary stack. Central banks are the foundational players, commercial banks are the layer 2 players, and now the third players have also come, fintech players. But within that, even fintech players have been given space which is subservient to banks, which means you can transfer money from a bank account to your wallet and make micropayments. So they have ensured that these fintech players are only in a micro payment space, which was the space in which banks were not earlier. Apart from that, this monetary stack is more or less complete. Okay? So this entire model is a model of money that you are trying to live inside. Now, if tomorrow, let's take example of China. If China issues its central bank currency directly to the users, it means this layer would be gone. At present, this is one server. This server is talking to these many servers, and these servers are talking to their clients. Okay? Tomorrow, this server will become large. Its capacity would be increased. This would be gone, and central bank would be talking directly to users. Okay? So, Central Bank of China would become Paytm of some sort of an equivalent of Paytm of China. All microtransactions would be done on a single ledger. Okay? But this monetary stack would remain like this. If one bank can control the destiny of 1.6 billion people in a country, it means it can have negative interest rates. It can have transaction tax. It can know whatever transaction you are doing. It can block your wallet. It can control your credit score. It can do whatever it wants to do. So in that sense, the conceptual monopolies of nation state are far more dangerous than territorial monopolies. Because these conceptual monopolies actually go very, very deep. Now, if this is the model of trust, and this model of trust is something that we live in, then it means that this trust is something that we are doomed to live. You can say this thing about China, but can you say similar things about Pakistan, Bangladesh, Africa, even India? It means things are changing, and that model of trust may not change that fast. It means more and more inefficiencies would come into the ecosystem. Now, the issue here is that if there is trust deficit, then can you replace the system? Because when you tend to replace the system, the fundamental challenge before you is what is the cost of that trust infrastructure? And if the cost of trust infrastructure is very high, would you be able to replace it? Straight no. So that's why the fundamental question for you is, can you calculate the cost of trust? And that's where, till date, we don't have any idea of what is the actual cost that we are paying. For example, when you use this, you do, if I'm buying something from him, I pay him 200 bucks. It is a zero cost transaction. Okay? Direct transaction. But do you know, to print this currency note and to distribute it, Reserve Bank of India is spending 32,000 crores every year. 32,000 crores. RBI has more than 20,000 employees. Branches across all the states, all the major cities. 32,000 crores every year. Raghuram Rajan was asked once that what is your biggest take on blockchain? He said, bit jokingly, that I would be more than happy to use blockchain because I will save a lot of money as a central banker. I'm spending 32,000 crores of money to print and distribute it. With blockchain, I can do it at a fraction of that cost and can distribute money directly to users, maintaining the same amount of trust. I will be saving huge amount of money, but still I can't do it. This was something we used. Okay. Now, the issue here is that when you don't have an alternative, you cannot calculate the cost of trust because you are living in a hierarchical model. And if you cannot escape that hierarchy, you simply cannot question it. Can you ask a king that you should reduce your expenditure? Not possible. Because a king has an executive authority, and that executive authority can work in billion ways to derive cost out of you. And the issue here is that at present, this cost is something which we need to calculate, and we have no idea how to calculate. That only centralized players can create efficiency in the ecosystem. In 1937, Ronald Coase, a Nobel Prize winning economist, published a paper, The Nature of Firm. He asked a very simple question, that if we are living in a free market economy, why all the economic transactions in that economy are centered around certain bodies? The answer was, the all centralized bodies reduce the transaction cost. For example, if she wants to send money to some player in a distant city, then there are only two ways. Either she goes herself to deliver that money, or she trusts somebody to deliver that money. It means there is a cost of sending that money, and whosoever brings that cost down and offers a higher amount of trust, she would start depending upon. So in that sense, Robert Coase said that the centralized intermediaries reduce the transaction cost, increase economic efficiency, and that's why we started believing that centralization is the right choice, right architectural choice. Okay? For example, when you have to build something, you say Amazon can handle the hosting and all those things. This is an assumed kind of a thing. So similarly, in market, if you have to operate, you have to operate like an organization, a centralized organization. So this is the model in which we are living. That's why we don't calculate the cost of larger trust infrastructure. Okay? Now, recently, one player at RMIT University, Australia, tried to calculate the cost of trust. And what they did this experiment on US economy. What they did, they actually took a large sample size of roughly 140 million employees of US economy, and they assigned weights to all the occupations. Okay? And they realized that 35% of employment is not involved in production activity. They're just involved in maintaining the trust relationship. And if you are in a management company or some sort of a professional company, the cost of trust is 48%. For example, if you're an auditor, if you're a security analyst, if you're some sort of a compliance mechanism, then you're not actually dealing in production. Though you're a services company, but you're not involved in any kind of a production. You're just checking whether this is compliant enough. But the fact here is in natural resources, this cost of trust is 13%. Now, if US economy is $21 trillion GDP, what is the cost of trust in US economy alone? 7 trillion per year. US economy is paying $7 trillion to just maintain trust infrastructure. In India, will it be 35% or higher or lesser? Cost of trust infrastructure. Higher. It means if we have a GDP of $2.7 trillion, then half of that is going to maintenance of that trust infrastructure. Half. In Africa, this will be much higher. Okay? If you are a thinker, an economic thinker, will it not literally blast your mind that you are paying half of the money just to maintain trust? Since you don't have a better definition of money, you are depending upon that. So here I take 9 elements of the trust and say that these 9 elements of trust, border management or money management, these are all trust architecture issues. Your army is trust building. Going out to buy Rafale airplanes is some sort of that process. But if this is the thing, then we need to think something about this cost of trust. Because whatever government come and go, this cost of trust will not go down if we continue with the current architecture. Okay? And I'm here talking not of only one country, I'm talking of entire world. Okay? Now, the thing here is that you will say, sir, whether we live in a centralized system or in a decentralized system, some components of trust are universal. They have to be there. Kya karenge uska? They have to be there. Like, who will issue your identity? Who will manage it? Then, who will build your reputation score? Who will cross-link it? Then, who will implement your business contracts in a frictionless manner? And whatever business organization you build, they have to be legally accountable. So that if something wrong happens, you know who would be punished. And if there is some sort of a dispute or some sort of a problem, then that trust deficit has to be managed. And broadly, a compliance culture has to be there. Now you say that, sir, these are the fundamental elements of trust. Whether it is done by a bank or a government or whatever, ultimately these elements have to be there. Whether it is a centralized system or a decentralized system. Do we an alternative? If the alternative is not there, then you will not change the system. As simple as that. Whatever be its cost. Okay? Now, the thing here is that all these systems are being managed through a fundamental tool. And that tool is called ledger technology. And these ledgers are basically supposed to maintain records of ownership, exchange, and transactions. And all major government bodies basically manage. If you see, but all banks, all stock exchanges, all land records authorities, all securities and depository institutions, all these, whatever what they're doing, who owns what? Okay, who sends to whom? What is sent? The fact here is, in majority of cases, most of banking and financial institutions are basically ledger-centric institutions. Ultimately, at the core, there is a ledger. And these institutions who are called custodians of trust, they are basically ledger managers. Okay? And if there is a dispute, of cases, at least civil cases, not criminal. In civil cases, will be a ledger dispute, and the ledger dispute would be if who sent to whom. This who was wrong, name was wrong, what was sent. It was written 200 square yards, actual was 220 square yards. Like this, it will be a ledger dispute, entry dispute. Okay. Now, if this entire thing of trust infrastructure is being managed by a ledger technology, then more important than cost of trust is important. What is the ledger technology being used here? Okay, and that's where Bitcoin becomes very, very disruptive. It says that I have built a peer-to-peer electronic cash. The point is, peer-to-peer, okay, this cash is peer-to-peer, I'm a peer, he's a peer, peer-to-peer electronic cash. Come again. Peer-to-peer, okay, cash is okay, electronic cash? No. Something disturbing. How it can be electronic? It means it should have all the properties of a cash, but in an electronic manner, it in a digital manner. Now, what is the property of a cash? No trace. A transaction is itself a settlement. Okay. When I pay this person 200 bucks, now these 200 bucks belong to him. Transaction is itself a settlement. No separate audit is required. Okay? It means if I am to do it in a electronic manner, then there has to be some sort of a ledger mechanism which will do the clearing and settlement. It means that now this is also a peer-to-peer ledger network. Now, if this is issued by RBI, then if it is happening in an electronic manner, then money issuance will not be done by a central bank. Money issuance will also be done by a network without the control of any single party. It means that if I recreate the properties peer-to-peer, okay, which means here peer-to-peer is physical proximity, but here I'm talking peer-to-peer at a global level. Second, cash, which means no trail of transaction, complete privacy. And then electronic, which means the ledger function would be done by machines, not by human beings. It means, in a sense, It is a unique kind of ledger which Bitcoin created. And in 2009, January 2009, Satoshi Nakamoto, an anonymous person or a group, nobody knows, created this project, and their focus was to solve the problem of double spend. See, when I have a digital file, I can send this file to him, to her, but without losing my file. So now one file becomes 4 files, and I can do it infinitely. But can I give $100 to him, similarly $100 to him and to her, and now that $100 become $400? In the realm of money, this is simply impossible. It means if I have $100 and I give those $100 to him, then there should be a mechanism that my $100 should be deducted, and in his account $100 should be credited. But how to do it? Without any central party. It means there has to be a decentralized mechanism through which this money transfer would be handled, which means for that you will have to solve the problem of double spend, which means if I have sent $100 to him, I cannot send that money to this person or to this person. There has to be some deterrent, some resistance against that thing. If I am able to spend double spend problem, then I can send money. But solving the double spend is not the only problem. Bringing all the people in that realm of trust is also, so that everybody can see the ledger that money has been transferred. Okay, so in a sense, it is peer-to-peer, it is electronic, it is cash equivalent, it is global, it is audit network, and also a payment network. For the first time we did this, borderless, global, peer-to-peer. Underlying this Bitcoin is a ledger technology which is called blockchain technology, because here ledger has a specific feature, visual feature. All transactions are actually capsuled in a block. Every block has around 2000 transactions. One block is connected with another block, then that block is further connected with another block, and there is chain of blocks. That's why blockchain. And all those blocks are connected in a cryptographic manner, that if you change one entry of one block, entire chain will have to be replaced, which means practically impossible. Till date, there are 400 million Bitcoin transactions. And if you change one transaction, you will have to change the entire chain, which means this blockchain becomes immutable. And if it becomes immutable, then it can be trusted. And if it can be trusted, then you happen to realize that if it can be trusted, was such a trust architecture available to us before Bitcoin? The answer is no. Before Bitcoin, this kind of trust architecture was not available to us. Now, if it is a new kind of trust architecture, then what is happening underlying this? The fact here is this blockchain is actually a ledger technology, but a completely different and new ledger technology, which is called triple entry ledger bookkeeping system. Now, before we understand this, we need to understand this history. In human history, we have only three kinds of ledger technology. The first one was single entry bookkeeping system. And that was the longest one. What is single entry bookkeeping system? Debit entries were in one box and credit entries were in the other box. But both the boxes used to lie at King's Palace or Tribal Chief's office. Everything. And this is a period of monarchies, empires, kingdoms. Lot came, lot failed. But a kingdom replaced the kingdom. An empire replaced the empire. So, more or less, that trust architecture was same. Mughals came, they trounced Lodhis. After Mughals, Britishers came. After Britishers, political parties came. I won't say India got independence, political parties came. But still, that model is centralized model. Now, the fact here is that for around more than 3,000 years, this model dominated. More than that. And in around 15th, 16th century, a new model emerged called double entry bookkeeping system. So this model was different. In double entry bookkeeping system, on a single page, on one side, debit entries are put, on the other side, credit entries are put. And all the entries are total at the bottom, and the next page starts from that entry, which means that it becomes very, very difficult to change that ledger, because if you change one entry, you will have to change all the previous entries. Okay? In 15th century, this model emerged and people started seeing its benefits. People said that if this is possible, it means all the expenditure and income statement of an enterprise can be put into public domain, and anybody can come and check whether these transactions have happened or not. It means for the first time, ledger moves out of the king's palace into a public zone. Of course, after the transactions have done, after 3 months or after a year, you can release your public financial statement and tell this world that this is our income, this is our profit, this is our expenditure, and these are the ways that we have done. And a group of auditors, group of accountants can certify that yes, this public financial statement is true. Once that happened, people realized this is very interesting. Now, in 2009, when Bitcoin came, it inserted a new kind of system. It said, I send Bitcoin to this person. I incur a debit entry, but that becomes a credit entry at his end. But that transaction is going on to blockchain, which neither me nor he can change. So blockchain becomes the third entry. So it becomes a triple entry bookkeeping system, which means here you don't need an auditor to verify your transactions. Here it is being done in a decentralized fashion. It is machine-based ledger settlement. Okay? It means that if it is a triple ledger bookkeeping system where You are introducing for the first time in human history real-time auditing system. No separate audit, no separate reconciliation. For example, let me share something with you. Is somebody from NPCI? Yeah. Now, NPCI is doing roughly 1 billion transactions per month these days, all right? Now, and NPCI can clearly say that they are doing it pretty efficiently. And the rate of efficiency is 99.99. Right? 99.99% is a fairly good efficiency rate. Let's assume NPCI is doing that. 99.9. It means still 0.01% error is possible. 0.01. If you calculate 0.01% of 1 billion, what it would be? $10 million. 10 million. Okay. They have one of the most efficient system, 99.99% efficiency, but still they can have 10 million transactions in the error zone. For example, when you make a transaction, peer-to-peer transaction, things are happening very fast. But sometimes what happens at a back end, from one bank server to another bank server, transactions don't happen that fast. And if individual accounts are settled and bank ledgers are not settled, it creates very serious problem of reconciliation. And NPCI faces this problem on a very regular basis. And for that, they have built a massive hedge fund, reserve fund to mitigate this particular problem. Okay? Handling 10 million transactions is a big problem. Now, NPCI realized that even 99.99% efficiency is something is not going to work. They will have to shift into a new architecture of trust. And for your information, NPCI has decided to move to blockchain, where they will connect all the banks onto that blockchain network, where real-time auditing would happen, which means the transaction is itself a settlement. Where this kind of word, 99.999% accuracy won't matter. If you're doing 1 billion transactions in a month, that would mean 1 billion settled transactions a month. That should not mean that even a single transaction should not be in an unsettled zone. And without blockchain, you cannot do it. Bitcoin has already done more than 400 million transactions. Next blockchain which came after Bitcoin, Ethereum, has done 550 million transactions per day. No ledger error. All transactions visible, right from first transaction till date. And you can see those transactions anytime. Anytime. EOS, another blockchain, has already done 1.5 billion transactions till date. 1.5 billion transactions. Ripple, another blockchain platform, is doing roughly 2 million transactions a day. A day. These are live facts. Anybody can verify it. Now, the issue here is that single entry ledgers had a very different kind of political universe, social universe, economic universe. In double entry ledger systems, the social, economic, financial universe completely changed. We moved from monarchies to democracies. The point is, when ledger technology changes, changes fundamentally. So it means if we are into this peer-to-peer triple entry ledger universe, how the society would change? We don't know. But we are convinced that it would change. But in what direction? We don't know. Now, the thing is, if I try to give broad definitions of that shift, that transition, when single entry bookkeeping system emerged, it actually created institutions of taxation, central government budgets, all those things emerged out of there. And when double entry bookkeeping system came, it created distributed ownership of enterprise. When people could see that I can see that this company invested 10,000 rupees at the beginning of the year, and at the end of the year, it earned 15,000 profit. It means this is a huge profit. And that public statement can be shared across all the people. So, people turned their companies into joint stock companies and issued shares. And you could trade those shares in open market. It means risk was spread, and here emerged new concept of multinational corporation. World's first major and most successful multinational company was East India Company, which ruled over more than 100 countries. 100 countries. In India, it ruled over more than 100 years. Somebody says, I don't know exact figure, in its British rule, England took $45 trillion worth of economic wealth. $45 trillion. Our GDP is 2.7 trillion. You can imagine what is $45 trillion. And the point is, if blockchain's triple entry bookkeeping system comes, it will create, number one, trust at an industrial scale. At present, if I am doing an ICICI Bank transaction, this trust is only on ICICI. If I am doing HDFC, this is only HDFC. But the point is, if I am doing a trade finance transaction where both ICICI and HDFC are involved, then I will have to build a system which builds trust at an industrial scale, where banks are connected, supply chains are connected, customs authorities are connected. Bills of lading can be seen by anybody, end to end. Transaction costs would be drastically reduced. And whosoever is your intermediary, its role would undergo a radical change. You won't need a central bank with 20,000 employees. You will not need a stock exchange like National Stock Exchange or Bombay Stock Exchange with thousands of employees. You can do all those things at a much, much lesser cost and much higher efficiency. And the issue here is, if that is true, okay, if that is true, then what blockchain can actually bring? Some people have said that blockchain is as revolutionary as some general purpose technologies have been, like steam engine, like electricity, like printing press, like internet. It's true. Blockchain is as good as a general purpose technology like steam engine, electricity, internet. But the fact here is, it is more than that. Because this is something which is built on already existing infrastructure of internet. When I say already existing infrastructure of internet, it means more than 4 billion people have smartphones. The entire world knows what is mobile operating system, what is application, what is distributed networks. People use those apps on a regular basis, millions, hundreds of millions, and things go viral instantly. Some weeks back, or a couple of months back, there was an application called Face App. It actually transforms your age from young to old. Okay, free app. In a week, this app was downloaded 150 million times. 150 million times in a week. And the fact here is, if instead of Face app, we happen to use a decentralized app, DApp, floating on blockchain, or blockchain like Ethereum or EOS or something like that. In what time it will reach millions? Maybe week, one day, maybe a month, maybe a year. But if something can be appified in terms of application, then that application can reach masses in almost no time. It means blockchain is not just a general purpose technology, it is also a general dimensional technology which transcends time and space. How fast blockchain will reach masses is something we cannot judge right now. Now, the issue here is that as far as the double entry bookkeeping system is concerned, we all are living inside that. Our fractional reserve banking uses double entry ledger. Our joint stock companies, they use our exchanges, there instead of money, you use stocks. Okay. Now, all these are using a ledger technology which belongs to past. And that ledger technology has high cost of maintaining that or managing that trust. And this is worth hundreds of trillions of dollars. Okay? Hundreds of trillions of dollars. And if I apply that logic of 35% share, 35% goes into maintaining the cost of trust. If you want to safeguard that amount of money, then in near future, everybody would move from double entry bookkeeping to triple entry bookkeeping system with the help of blockchain. And that's why people say blockchains are unique ledgers. Because in a distributed ledger setup, the level of trust is very, very high. And you don't need a centralized party or a hierarchical relationship to maintain trust. And here, no single point failure. In Bitcoin, let me give you an example. It has 10,000 nodes in over 100 countries. Even if there is a nuclear attack, even if these systems are anti-fragile. They are literally fail-proof. Nobody can switch off these blockchains. Nobody. And this single point vulnerability like demonetization is something which cannot happen inside Bitcoin or any other blockchain, public blockchain. Why? Because no single party can control this entire trust architecture. Can I ask you a question? Yeah.
You say it's anti-fragile.
Yeah.
But what I'm thinking is blockchain works, it needs some technology and it needs some servers and all.
Yeah.
So servers are again physical in nature.
Yeah.
So that has to be maintained.
Yeah.
The cost of maintenance is very low.
Yeah.
But still that needs to be maintained. And then if I'm right, most of the cost of the banks they spend money on maintaining servers. Now the bank branching system, everything just go out and all. Now majority of the expenses, one maintaining branch, two is maintaining the servers. So still you have to have the cost spent on the servers. And one more thing, you see that even if
Let me ask the first one.
something is new, this cannot be disturbed. So I'm just wondering that how it happens.
Okay. Okay. See, the fact here is, I'm not saying that if there are 10,000 computer nodes or server nodes across 100 countries, 10% cannot go per server or 10% cannot be switched off. They can. The fact here is, even if the system is 49% down or 49% adversary, the system would not fail. I'm saying that there would definitely be a cost, but this cost would be far, far lesser than the cost that is currently being incurred on a legacy mechanism. In Bitcoin system, now you can ask, who is paying for server maintenance? Okay? That's why Bitcoin is not just a ledger management system. It is also a crypto economic system. Now, what do I mean by that? The fact is, when Satoshi Nakamoto had thought of building something like Bitcoin, he must have tried to answer some fundamental questions, very fundamental questions. If he is supposed to solve the problem of double spend. And the fundamental questions must be, every transaction must be unique. Okay? Number one. Second, every block of transactions must be unique, so that no tampering is possible and block can be connected. Third, we must also be thinking that if there is a ledger, then this ledger management function or transaction verification function has to be incentivized. He built economic incentives into blockchain that anybody who does transaction verification and happens to win the block reward would be allotted 50 bitcoins every 10 minutes. If you happen to find the block, then you will be given 50 bitcoins. First 4 years, 50 bitcoins. Next 4 years, 25 bitcoins. Next 4 years, 12.5 bitcoins. Next 4 years, 6.25 bitcoins. So, as a result, the price of Bitcoin started rising because that was the cost of trust. Now, people realize that if Bitcoin is becoming precious, then you have to become that auditor to get that reward. In Bitcoin language, those auditors are called miners. Miners build those servers, and every 10 minutes, currently 6.25 12.5 Bitcoin means roughly $100,000. $100,000 every 10 minutes. So if you are paid $100,000 to do those transaction verification, you will do those transaction verification. So that is economic incentive. There is no centralized party which is paying for that.
Who pays that?
Nobody pays. If they get the reward, that reward automatically pays them. They get 12.5 bitcoins in that block, and that 12.5 bitcoins is the reward which pays for their cost.
So maybe it will be divided. Bitcoin.
Bitcoin has a standard protocol. Not more than 21 million bitcoins would ever be created. And out of those 21 million bitcoins, 80% have already been created. So this is a standard protocol which nobody can change. And this protocol is shared over 10,000 systems. And no single party can change that system. And this system is safeguarded by 10 exahash, 100 exahash of computing power. 1 exahash is equivalent to 1000 petahash. 1 petahash is equivalent to 1000 terahash. 1 terahash is equivalent to 1000 gigahash. So you can imagine the kind of scale of safety which Bitcoin has right now. Even 500 supercomputers collectively, they want to hack Bitcoin network, they cannot, because Bitcoin's network hash rate is so high. So this is the example of a fail-proof system. Okay, I think I have answered your question.
Yes.
Okay, clear? Yeah.
What is the underlying aspect of Bitcoin?
Bitcoin is extra fast.
Buy a Bitcoin, whatever line.
What is the underlying assets of this? Tell me.
The trust.
Exactly. My entire lecture is on trust, my dear.
What about acceptable?
Already over 100,000 transactions are happening daily, my dear.
So that means
Whether you see, for every currency there is some underlying asset.
For whatever printing that RBI is doing, there is some reserve hold for that. That is the underlying.
Who told you? Who told you?
What we learned is that
Central bank cannot print unlimited.
Are you saying that we live in a full reserve lending system? You're completely mistaken, my dear. Completely mistaken. RBI has reserves of only 600 tons of gold official. 600 tons. Please calculate it, and you can find what is the net cost.
So the question is, we are trying to
I'm not trying to justify Bitcoin. Please don't distract yourself. I'm only saying that as far as the trust architecture is concerned, Bitcoin has given us a new model of trust. I'm not justifying Bitcoin's price and Bitcoin's public use of as currency. I'm not going into that. That's a very different question.
No, my question is, they are trying to create a parallel currency. That's what my question. See, if I buy something.
Go back to my lecture and see, I mentioned 9 elements of trust. Currency was only one element of that trust. Bitcoin is not just a currency. I'm not interested in Bitcoin use as a currency, not at all. Currency is just one application of that technology. I'm only saying that the model of trust is completely different. That's something we need to understand here. This lecture is only on trust. Let me be very, very clear on that. I'm not justifying Bitcoin. Rather, I'm against that. Let me be very honest. But the point here is, I'm also against dollar imperialism. Can you do something about this? Can you do something about this? If dollar crashes 20% tomorrow, what will happen to all IT companies? Yeah. So are you earning because you are good, or are you earning because there is a dollar arbitrage between rupee and dollar? Yes. It means you are getting business because they print paper, but you consider it as money. The fact is that more than 50% of all the dollars ever printed in this world are outside US. Because in this world, there is one very serious problem. You have a lender of last resort in India, you are RBI. You have a lender of last resort in China, you are People's Republic of China. You have a lender of last resort in any other country, let's say Japan. But the fact here is, when there is a global trade, will he take your currency? He says, I don't trust rupee, it's shitty currency. She says, I don't trust China. They are untouchables. Now, if these three are fighting, this person who controls dollar will see that's a big opportunity. Let me go out into the world and control Saudi Arabia and entire source of oil, and make this condition that everybody in this world will buy oil only in dollars. Now these three are like monkeys. Are like cats. Because rupees on, yuan on, yen on. But world needs a single invoice currency. I am against Bitcoin. Let's accept it. But I'm also against this dollar imperialism. Which is better? Tell me. Bitcoin is better or dollar imperialism better? You please answer that. He has answered. Come on, you answer that. That's it. That's it. Because the cost of trust is there, my dear. And you have been offered now a new model. And your imagination is not able to grasp the implications of shifting into that model. That's what we do. We build capacity to understand blockchain, implications of blockchain. And I already trained 200 people like me. And I'm pretty convinced that the biggest problem in blockchain is not the technology. The biggest problem is conceptual framework. The moment you understand, oh my goodness, this is something big. I can build a decentralized version of stock exchange. I can build a decentralized version of land record management authority. I can build a decentralized version of settlement. Okay. Because money creation has been decentralized by creation of a decentralized ledger technology. If ledger can be handled by decentralized set of players, then everything that flows on that ledger, whether it is currency, whether it is assets, whether it is anything else, can be done in a decentralized manner. And the entire world is living on a centralized ledger, and now entire world needs to shift into decentralized ledger because it is more cost effective, it is more risk proof, it is more efficient. If that is the truth, then who will design that new application for that trust architecture? That's not an easy thing. We need a new army of professionals to do that. And that's where you people become critical. Because there are very few programs in this world who give you 360-degree view of blockchain. Somebody would give you understanding of Bitcoin. Somebody would give you something about Ethereum. Somebody would give you something about Hyperledger. But here, no. We'll give you understanding of 9 different blockchains, including how to create corporate currencies, how to create central bank digital currency. All those topics we do cover. So the fact here is that here transactions are so reliable because they're almost as good as your cash transactions. And here somebody has to print money. In blockchain, you just need to code it. And particularly this thing, separate audit. Out of you, how many people have done some sort of audit and investigation at every quarter end? Okay. How messy and stressful it can be. Can you share your experiences?
It's almost all a daily time. You have to see the credit classes and pay the use it for the related parts of meditation parts, very so the entire thing, the last 24.
If you're not able to handle that kind of a settlement finality at the end of every quarter, what happens then?
It will be a repetition issue, a related issue, and financial perspective.
Regulatory issue, financial risk issue. If the settlement finality is not achieved at the end of the quarter, and in blockchain, auditing is happening in
Every time.
real time. No, not just cash. Every asset. Blockchain doesn't know what is flowing on it. It's a cash or asset.
So how do you tell that the asset is taking or
See, it all depends upon what kind of values you are inserting in the system.
actually there is an article this Amravati Competition allotment of people land that used blockchain technology.
Yeah.
So cash we can understand Bitcoin.
What is Bitcoin? At the end of the day, Bitcoin is an open source software shared by 10,000 computers. As simple as that. What is Ethereum? It's a blockchain, it's an open source software shared by 8,000 computers. As simple as that. So if land records have to be there on blockchain, those land records will be in a digital format with every asset attribute captured right at the source. Okay? So the fact here is that blockchains can be programmed in millions of ways, and that's where innovation would happen. And this is something I've already shared. I'm not going to this. Only the final thing. This is where the beauty. Identities. You can build a decentralized identity management solution using blockchain. You can build a decentralized stock exchange, decentralized land management authority, all kinds of tokens, currencies. They can be issued on blockchain.
One question. Yeah, assume that an organization is going for Bitcoin, Bitcoin, using the Bitcoin or the blockchain technology.
There is a very serious difference. Blockchain or Bitcoin? Say blockchain.
So can they maintain their balance sheet of the
Why not? Why not?
So all assets.
Yeah.
We have to just enter the data into the systems. And I didn't understand.
Just, we'll come to that. Just hold on. As far as trust architecture and its fundamental shift is concerned, have you got it? Any question about that?
So
Any question?
I think it-
As far as the trust architecture and its transition, paradigm shift is concerned, any question about that?
if it has to fail, right? How it will fail.
See, the point here is that as far as the systemic failure is concerned, in this model of trust, there are very less points where it can fail. Though people have tried to fail it. For example, in Bitcoin, people realized that Bitcoin is a very slow blockchain. It can do not more than 7 transactions per second because its consensus mechanism is slow, which is called proof of work. All those computers, those miners have to do transaction verification, and that's why this entire process takes up some time. Now the issue here is that in this choice, people realize that if Bitcoin is so slow blockchain, then we need to build a better version of Bitcoin. So some players built they fork Bitcoin chain into a separate chain and called it Bitcoin Cash. Okay, Bitcoin is split, but the problem here is when it is split, there will be 2 chains. One stream becomes 2 streams. But if majority still trust the first stream, it means Bitcoin chain will continue. People who move to other stream called Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin is worth $9,000 and Bitcoin Cash is worth $200. So it comes down to trust. See, trust is a very, very abstract notion. If you can trust a paper with false contract guarantees, here the system where everything is transferred. Now, what value you will assign to Bitcoin? For example, this is 200 bucks. What is the printing cost of this note? 2 rupees. This 198 rupees. Who owns these 198 rupees? That is called signature revenue. That goes to central bank. And that central bank transfer that money to central government. Okay, recently between central government and RBI there was a lot of tension. That was because of this. Now the fact here is that you are moving into a system where the entire trust architecture would be different. And that trust architecture is very, very reliable, particularly if you see it from audit and reconciliation perspective, management cost perspective, and risk avoidance perspective. And people have realized that the future is triple entry bookkeeping system through blockchain. The problem here is, having decided this, you cannot move without creating a new system. Who will create that new system? For example, the way 20 years back, Y2K error created a historical opportunity out of which Infosys, TCS, Satya, and a lot of other companies emerged. Okay? The point here is that that created a digital infrastructure for India's growth. Similarly, if we are to move into blockchain, how the capacity building for blockchain professionals happens? IITs doing nothing, IIMs doing nothing, and I have come from a lateral field. I was in academics, I resigned from academics in 2012, ventured into blockchain and startup ecosystem, maintained my research, maintained my studies, and when I realized that the entire blockchain world doesn't have a good teacher, I realized that this is the time to go back into teaching, but without becoming an academic. So I'm a teacher, but without being a lifelong academic. Blockchain has emerged from a very lateral field like cypherpunks. And that's why this is so difficult to be taught, because this is a conglomeration of at least half a dozen different disciplines: law, economics, cryptography, maths, political science. All those things coming together to build something one. It's world's most interesting interdisciplinary structure. And that's why people don't understand blockchain as easily as it should. Because understanding technology is far very big. And that's when you start asking very basic questions, how the data entry would happen. Because suddenly you feel that you are back to basics. Okay? That's why blockchain is, in a certain sense, a very, very mesmerizing discipline. And after training more than 200 people, I've literally enjoyed it. Because I can see human DNA getting changed. Your thinking DNA getting changed. When you come for the first time, you are full of doubts, full of questions, full of suspicion. But after spending time with us, you are a changed person. And I have gone through that process with 200 people. Okay? So, now the point here is somebody among you can ask, sir, blockchain hype is too much to handle. Let's see what survives. It is still not at enterprise scale. Something is still yet to happen. The fact here is that blockchain has already gone beyond that stage. And if you see a standard technological cycle, which is offered by Carlota Perez, she says that first phase is called installation phase. From 2009 onwards, blockchain installation phase started, and where new paradigm actually clashes with the old paradigm. And all things happen that more and more technology start coming together. Artificial intelligence, IPFS, other smart contracts, all those things. Then when all these things start happening, then people feel that something big is going to happen and there starts a frenzy. In mid 2017, that frenzy started in a big way. See, uh, in early 2012, when I ventured into this space, there were only three cryptocurrencies or three blockchains, and total market cap was $0.1 billion. $0.1 billion. And in last 7 years, I have seen that figure jumping from three cryptocurrencies to over 2,000 cryptocurrencies, and market cap jumping from $0.1 billion to over $240 billion. And if I say tell you the peak, over $800 billion. That was in December 2017. So if you see, in 2017 mid, this frenzy actually started, and by January 2018, that frenzy literally collapsed, and we had underwent a crash. So in last 2 odd years, roughly, we are living in a world of post-crash. So whatever articles on blockchain you might have read in last 2 years, those are the articles that emerged in the post-crash world. And we are at this stage, recovery phase. And in certain sectors, that recovery phase has already shifted into deployment phase. For example, NPCI. For example, TRI, Telecom Regulatory Authority, as recently they are about to launch within this month. The entire DND registry of India's telecom users will be on blockchain. All coffee boards in India have put their supply chains on blockchain. World Economic Forum has said that by 2027, 10% of global GDP would be on blockchain. Facebook has announced its plan to issue its new cryptocurrency Libra using blockchain. Of course, there are criticism, but looking at that, China has decided to launch its own cryptocurrency, central bank issued digital currency, a Bitcoin rival. The point here is there is a lot of activity, and that lot of activity cannot be there without any security. And this deployment phase is actually going to create hundreds of trillions of dollars back. So, and whosoever wants to become part of this journey would have to understand blockchain. So, blockchains are basically a paradigm shift. A paradigm shift in way we manage trust. And the biggest advantage here is the cost of trust infrastructure goes down drastically. And these blockchains are nothing but programmable ledgers, and these programmable ledgers are building on a new kind of ledger technology called triple entry bookkeeping system. And these programmable ledgers can program currencies, assets, identities, your equities, whatever. That depends upon your imagination. Okay, so this is the first phase of today's interaction, conceptual understanding of blockchain. Any question about this?
The blockchain technology or concept? The reason for asking is it's a concept that every country will have their own concept of related. So the technology that somebody manages and all of them.
See, it is both. It's both. Blockchain is not a technology. Blockchain is a technology. If you say blockchain, it doesn't mean anything. You need to ask further question, which blockchain? Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Hyperledger? You need to understand it. Because ultimately, blockchain is a distributed, decentralized ledger database. Now, how you design it? Bitcoin has its own way of designing that distributed, decentralized ledger database. Ethereum has its own way. Hyperledger has its own way. Corda has its own way. Multi-chain. All those different ledger technology platforms have their own methodologies. But fundamental concept is what I have shared. So this is the first part of our today's interaction. Any question about the concept part?
How are we going to use this technology apart from
We'll come to that.
Bitcoin?
We'll come to that. About the concept part, are you clear?
First kind of it's clear how it is being maintained, ledger and everything, but only the not able to correlate the real-time transaction. Now we are transferring P2P transaction doing a Bitcoin transfer. So one Bitcoin I'm transferring to party B. So in that case, there will be a verifier who is going to verify whether I have sufficient funds and whether I can do the transfer to the corresponding BNB. So at that point of time, I'm transferring just one Bitcoin, but the person who validates is
Bitcoin. The fact is, there are thousands of miners who participate in a race to find that block. There are hundreds and thousands of miners or auditors who participate in that consensus mechanism called proof of work. They do computations on their machines, and those computations are basically transaction verifications. While you are doing that, one lucky person among you happens to get block reward of 12.5 Bitcoins.
not only getting 2.5 Bitcoin, but the transaction itself is 1 Bitcoin, but the reward itself is a better more than
No. The fact is, a Bitcoin can be divided into 100 million fractions, and those 100 million fractions can be called satoshis. So you can send virtually 1 cent over Bitcoin network. Per day, at present, 1800 Bitcoins are released, 1800 Bitcoins, and per day, roughly 400,000 Bitcoin transactions are happening. So the fact is, we spend roughly 15 hours on just making you understand what is Bitcoin, how Bitcoin scripting happens, how proof of work happens, how game theory works here. Just 15 hours into this particular part. And then cryptography, then zero knowledge proof. We also teach zero knowledge proof. Zero knowledge proof is a way of verifying your transactions without revealing the details of that transaction. Zero knowledge proof is going to be very, very critical for blockchain and all the banking and financial services. And zero knowledge proof is actually emerging a new industry. It's actually a blockchain-based new industry. So ultimately, we here teach blockchain with its all complex features. Bitcoin is just the beginning of the entire thing. Now, let me go beyond the concept and how we actually deliver this entire program so that you actually are able to handle this complex field. See, the fact here is that in the world of blockchain, at present, there are two major domains or the major streams. One is public blockchains. Public blockchains are those blockchains which anybody can use. Now, anybody can use, but doesn't need. If I want to make a Bitcoin payment or EM payment, then I can simply download a wallet, which is an application, download a wallet, and my phone becomes a thin client. With this client, I can connect to the network and make a payment. No KYC needed. Okay? This is permissionless network. The fact here is, in business conditions, you need to know with which party you are having a transaction. You need a KYC. Then all those blockchains where KYC is required are called permissioned networks. Okay. Now, broadly, these are two domains: permissionless networks and permissioned networks. But broadly, at present, this is assumed as public blockchains and private blockchains. And we teach both public blockchain and private blockchain. As far as the entire module structure that we have built, the first cohort, the first module actually goes into building a foundational understanding of blockchain. Actually, this lecture is one lecture among the 14 lectures which you will have in the first contact week. Okay. Now, the first lecture, the first module, it's around 24-hour long module where you will be taught Bitcoin, how Bitcoin works, how the crypto economic protocol of Bitcoin works, and how this entire thing is going to bring a paradigm shift. Okay, you will be taught cryptonomics, you will be taught history of tokens and blockchain assets, all those things. Then the second module, we teach you Ethereum. Ethereum is also public chain, like Bitcoin. But Ethereum has a unique feature that here you can program assets using smart contracts. Smart contracts are nothing but automated codes which can be deployed over internet. For example, your escrow account can be turned into a smart contract. Your share issuing company, public, private limited, public limited company, this all can be automated using ERC20 token standard. So we will teach you how to create applications using smart contracts. So 34 hours, roughly, 32 hours would be dedicated to teaching of Ethereum. And by end of this module, you will be supposed to create an actual POC using Ethereum infrastructure. Then the third module, Hyperledger, which enables you to build private blockchains, particularly for industry requirements. And here we'll teach you for roughly 34 hours Hyperledger, how to build Hyperledger fabric based blockchain. Then again, after the end, you will be building a POC using Hyperledger, and it will be entire hands-on, purely hands-on. Then fourth module will be on enterprise blockchains. Much lesser time will be given to those blockchains other than Hyperledger and Ethereum, but those blockchains are 5 blockchains. 2 are permissionless blockchains and 3 are permissioned blockchains. Permissioned ones are, private blockchains are multi-chain, Ripple and Corda, and permissionless blockchains are EOS and Cosmos. Apart from that, we'll be also teaching how to write a white paper, because Facebook's currency was created with a white paper release. Bitcoin was released with a white paper. So you will also learn how to write a white paper, and you will also write a white paper as assignment. After the conclusion of this particular program, I can ensure that some of you would be able to build Facebook like Libra on your own, on your own. And after module 4, final module will be actual. We will ask you to participate in a hackathon. And in that hackathon, you will be given 5, 6, 7 industry use cases, out of which you have to prepare one end-to-end running code, UI UX, of proper presentation, business rationale, logic, whatever, and you will have to present that use case twice. First before internal jury, and then before external jury. And the most interesting thing is the one who wins that hackathon, you will seed grant of 500,000 rupees. So in this way, we approach this entire program. And out of last 3 cohorts, 2 startups have already emerged and they have already interacted with our participants. The first startup is called aslimedicine.com. It is a Hyderabad-based startup. It is basically building supply chain for drugs. How to weed out counterfeit drugs from supply chain. Second startup is Trailblazer. It's also called Farm Block Square. It's based in Bangalore. And the most interesting thing is that they actually transformed their lab assignment into a successful startup. The most interesting thing about blockchain is that here, your lab projects can straight away shift into your successful startup, because in the market, as far as the number of projects are concerned, the number is very, very less. For example, in India, as far as insurance is concerned, there is hardly any project on top. Vehicle life cycle management is concerned, there is hardly any project. So if you venture into this stuff, you can actually get that early mover advantage. And here, as you can see my style, we teach both technology and business. So in that sense, we are a completely techno-business oriented course. And out of 120 hours, 60 hours would be content and 60 hours would be online. And in the entire course, you will build 3 applications. First, using Hyperledger, second, using Ethereum, and third, you will be free to use either Hyperledger or Ethereum. So, hands-on training would be there. Without that, you can't learn blockchain. Okay? Any more clarity? Huh? Okay. This is a standard question. I should have taken it up earlier. So the fact here is, we would expect people to have some coding background. You may not be doing coding on a regular basis, you don't mind, but some coding background will only add value to it. But the fact is, some of the good performance in last 3 cohorts have not been from programming background. For example, In cohort 2, there were two people. One was an investment banker, and the other one was a pharmacologist. When that person came, I asked him, why you are doing something which is completely tech related? He said, sir, I want to build clinical trial-based trial management system on blockchain. Said this is a billions of dollars worth of industry, and there is no accountability. Entire data is in the black box. So I want to build that thing on blockchain because I have realized that the only way of building such a system is blockchain, and I don't understand blockchain right now. So that's why I ventured into this course to learn that. The other one was investment banker. He at the convocation ceremony, he said, I didn't know how to code, but we actually give you certain assignments in certain specific fashion. First of all, your entire course will be spread over 18 weeks. Okay? So the first week would be contact week, 20 hours of contact week. After that, from second week, online sessions will start. From second week onward, we will start giving you weekly cycles. And we will start building your expertise in a very slow and graduated manner. For example, if I ask you that you have to write 4 lines of code, then after every assignment times over, then there will be a video explanation of that assignment. So in this way, all these 17 weeks, there will be assignments. And we will build your capability in a graduated fashion so that when you start building your code, you can feel comfortable. Second thing is that all the POCs are done not individually, but group sessions. So right on the first day, you will know that you are part of a certain group. So it is a group assignment. And that person who was an investment banker, he said, I don't know how to code, but I can design business models excellently. Number one. Number two, I'm an excellent group person. So I can keep the team together. And he can also design very good business rationale for a particular project. And remember, in any blockchain application, all these things are very critical. Because how to allocate roles in a group assignment is also very big. Some people are good in coding, but they're very bad in research analysis. Some people are good in research analysis, but they're very poor in business modeling. Sometimes are good in research modeling, but sometimes some people are not good in identifying the business logic of that particular use case. So multiple things are required, and a group actually complements all these things. So all those group projects would be there so that you don't feel handicapped. Plus, whenever you are doing your hands-on lab exercises, there will be 3 layers of faculty supporting you. First, at the bottom, there will be lab mentors with you throughout the day. Then over this, practice faculty will be there, who will be from talent sprint. Over that, the lead faculty, for example, Ethereum, if you are learning Ethereum, then Ethereum code faculty will be there. If you are learning Hyperledger, then Hyperledger core faculty will be there. In this way, 3 layers would be there. And on the top of that, I will be there with you throughout. And during your labs, we sometimes work 12 hours, 8 to 8, is the standard. Of course, it will be rigorous, but it will be really invigorating. It will be really revitalizing because it is not just teaching you new technology, it is also teaching you new concepts. Okay. So, in that sense, I personally feel that this entire course would help you to discover pretty new things. Let me share one more example. In cohort 1, there was a person, Shrikant. He was from Accenture. He was my age. Not in coding. But in that cohort, final hackathon, he wrote 900 lines of code. And today, he is blockchain lead at Capgemini. So things change. People develop capability. And that's why we are here for. Any more questions? We still have some time, around 20 minutes. Yeah. See, as far as the days are concerned, it's only weekends. Your classes will happen on Saturdays, online classes. Saturdays means from 9 to 11 first class, then half an hour break, then 11:30 to 1:30 second class. So every week 4 hours, like this 15 weeks, 15 into 4, 60 hours online, and 3 contact weeks. For example, 22nd, 23rd, 24th. These 3 days would be first contact week, 20 hours in 3 days. Similarly, contact week number 12, which is again 20 hours, and like this week number 18, again 20 hours. So 3 weeks, 20 into 3, 60. 60 plus 60, 120 hours. Okay.
These online sessions happen here or can be attended?
You can attend your online sessions from any part of the world. For example, in last cohort, there were 5 students from abroad, from Hong Kong, Canada, Dubai, Australia, US. They just used to visit week number 1, week number 12, and week number 18. Rest, they were doing it from their home. And if you want to attend classes, even if you are traveling, you can attend classes on your phone. No issues.
So if I miss any online class,
Yeah?
if I miss any online class,
See, the beauty here is every session is recorded, and that recording is put onto your LMS, learning management system. We are using edX open source LMS version. So every lecture, every lab assignments, video explanation, everything is on your LMS. And that LMS access will be available to you after 1 year of completing that course. All your project feed presentations, which will happen in the hackathon, will be on LMS. So it's a very active, vibrant, dynamic support system. Then you can learn 24/7, any part of the world. Even if you miss, lectures will be available with you next 24 hours.
the lab sessions can be done on our own, or we have to come in.
See, as far as POC development is concerned, that will be happening here. Because lab sessions, of course, there will be demo sessions happening online. But there is a difference between demo session and a lab session. A lab session can be done effectively only in the live presence of mentors. And that's where actually you'll be surprised. Live, these lab sessions are the most active zone of learning. Because here you are learning not just the technology, but you are also learning from your group members. Otherwise, in an online format, you are away from your fellow group members. But we also do some group engagement exercises online. So we will give you certain assignments which you have to do as a group. For example, if I give you an assignment like, will blockchain begin the new era of electronic barter? Let's assume this is the assignment. And she is part of group, you are part of group, you are part of group, and you three are away from each other. But you'll be given 10 days to present this assignment on Zoom before all of us. You will be given LMS access, you will be presenting online. And you three can choose who will start first. So in that sense, we build online chemistry also. And that online engagement actually helps you when you actually meet in the groups, in labs. So in that sense, we have built pretty healthy practices, which are industry standards. Okay, in the beginning there were only 7 people, but after that, more people joined. Some people who joined late, can they introduce themselves as their area of experience?
Hi, my name is so I did the copy graduate and first with my MBA close to the company. After years experience in the life operations and got a career break. Like we were working as a data analyst in industry. Mainly I was on the I'm just looking for a career enhancement.
Okay.
So,
Who can ask? Yeah, please.
Hello everyone, I am Sharif and I came from MLR Institute of Technology and I'm associate professor there. And recently I joined for research PhD in JNTUS.
So, the first academic to join.
Yeah. So I am planning to do my research in blockchain technology itself. So that's why I am here. And in our college also we are planning to have a blockchain incubation center for our students in BTech fourth year. So we are planning for that one also. Okay, that's why.
Which college?
MLR Institute of Technology.
Hyderabad?
Yeah, Hyderabad.
Okay.
Thank you.
Who came late?
My name is I completed my degree. Easy. Right now, I'm working in generative conservation. I'm interested in motion for technology.
Others who came late?
Myself for and I'm a bachelor by profession. I'm associated with last year. And currently I'm working with my professor for that. So, blockchain.
Any project on blockchain from which ICC Bank is doing? Are you aware of that?
ICC Bank is into blockchain, but I'm not a part of that project.
Are you aware of that project?
No. Actually, they are doing some project at least, right? That I heard. Some blockchain project is going on. ICC and two other leading banks. Some blockchain project is going on.
So 20 months back, ICICI did a trade finance transaction on blockchain.
Still, correct country.
Not SWIFT transaction, trade finance transaction. But it was only a test transaction. People came late. Yeah, you came late. Introduce yourself.
I'm Ravi. I'm a businessman. I met with them very in average. This is my second line.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
Uh, travel agency, and I had my own product in the company. So I lost everything, but confidence levels were there.
So what made you attracted towards blockchain?
Because in our country it's bad. I used to even trade also.
Cryptocurrencies.
Yeah. So I used to sell. But overall, I didn't know what's there in the part. And
Yeah, I entered for the last 20 years. Most into the regular office. Some part of the sharing activities. And prior to that, I was having for a start. Little exposure to coding and we are mostly into a customer.
What attracted? What attracted towards blockchain?
Hi, I'm Ravinder here. Management and background. Both the agencies here and is very fine to my and yeah, I've heard a lot about local cooperation, heard a lot about electronics, all of this. A lot of understanding more computer and see how it is.
And this is fun. So I have the one production and Sicily, we are waiting in blockchain.
Which platform?
Blockchain.
Which platform you're using?
Currently, so online
Which one?
integrated land enforcement.
Okay. Which technology platform you're using for that?
Right now we are doing Java coding.
It's still not ready.
Blockchain, we are blockchain.
That may be a bit difficult question. Okay. Anybody else? I think. Okay. See, the fact here is that at present, blockchain is at present in India. I would say that by 2020, the global massive upsurge of blockchain application is going to be so high that we will simply see a Cambrian explosion of blockchain applications. And the state of knowledge, state of awareness about blockchain is so low. Let me give you one example. Last year, RBI, when it introduced a ban on bank to crypto and crypto to bank transactions. It was not ban on cryptocurrency. Please. There is a difference between Bitcoin is legal. It's not illegal. All cryptocurrencies are not illegal. The only distinction is that you cannot convert fiat currency into cryptocurrency using bank route. You can do it via cash. But using the bank route, you cannot convert fiat currency into crypto and vice versa. That's the only thing. After that, income tax authorities swooped down on many cryptocurrency, and almost all the cryptocurrency exchanges are established by some of my friends. So I happen to interact with one of my friends who is founder of a Bangalore-based cryptocurrency exchange, income tax authorities came to his office and they wanted to check if there is any compliance problem and all those things. They came, the team was led by an income tax commissioner, and they checked the records, and everything was 100% digitized. All KYC was done. Okay, they could not find anything. Then the commissioner asked, "Show me transactions." He showed the transaction. Now on the transactions, there was long alphanumeric code. Now, commissioner asked, "What is this?" So this is public key, Bitcoin address. What is public key? So public key can be generated by private key. What is private key? An income tax commissioner who is supposed to raid a cryptocurrency exchange is asking questions which are entry-level questions, which is blockchain 1.101. The problem here is, in the world of blockchain, the biggest handicap is lack of awareness. The biggest. The fact here is Indian government has lost a huge amount of tax. Huge amount of tax. You'll be surprised. Just before 6th April 2018, in India, 18,000 crores worth of crypto trade had already happened, generating zero tax to the government. And it is so easy to build certain regulatory norms. Every person who wants to use Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency or any crypto asset, if government can connect your PAN to your Aadhaar to your passport to any other your identity. The point is, if you say that I want to transact in a cryptocurrency, then why your public key cannot be connected to your Aadhaar? It's possible. The problem here is the lack of awareness creates misguided fears, doubts, and hence absence of regulation. Recently, you'll be surprised, 2 government committees have come, and both those committees have said that India must go for a CBDC. RBI should launch its own cryptocurrency. The problem here is that the last time a course on CBDC was publicly taught was only in our cohort, nowhere else in India. We are the only public course which is teaching how to build CBDC. The problem here is that this entire world needs lot of demystification, lots of decluttering, and that's where problem is big. So all those early movers who enter into this domain would be able to see what others cannot see. And that's the big object. With new knowledge come new ideas, and with new ideas come new projects, and with new projects come new wealth models. Okay? Any more questions? Experience we promise you in 120 hours. If after 3 hours you are left with no question. You're like, okay, go ahead. How to become a miner? Actually, this question is not part of the course because this is something that we are not supposed to. As far as becoming a miner is concerned, if you want to become a Bitcoin miner, you must have at least $20 million. The fact is, around 8 years back, you could have become a miner doing Bitcoin mining on your laptop. But these days, mining is so hardware intensive that you need to have very high power ASIC machine, application specific integrated circuits, where every machine can generate 10 to 16 terahash per second of computation. And one ASIC machine costs you around $3,000. And to get into Bitcoin network, you must have at least 1 to 2% of network hash rate, which means at present it is 100 exahash. 100 exahash means 100,000 petahash. And 2% of that means 2,000 petahash. So for 2,000 petahash, you will have to have at least a few thousand ASIC machines. So multiply that into 3,000 plus electricity cost plus space cost and all those things. So, and that's why mining is something which is at present a preserve of only a few people. Though people do mining, but they don't do Bitcoin mining. They do Ether mining, they do Litecoin mining, or Bitcoin Cash mining, and all those where network hash rate is far lesser and returns are easier. But see, the factor is at present this is completely a game based on business banking. If you feel that you are being sufficiently rewarded, people will spend. And in the last 2 years, you'll be surprised when Bitcoin crashed in December 2017. After that, it crashed from $20,000 to $3,000. It means when Bitcoin crashed, miners must have gone out of the market, right? You'll be surprised. In January 2018, network hash rate was 10 exahash. Today it is 100 exahash. So in a crash zone, network hash rate has jumped 10 times. So this explains the business dynamics of mining. I'm not saying that blockchain will not have some cost. I'm only saying that it will reduce the cost or overall cost of trust infrastructure. Trust. For example, if today you are a company with 10,000 employees and 40% of those employees are just involved in managing trust, then tomorrow with use of blockchain, you can do the same kind of efficiency at 6,000 employees. And don't forget that blockchain has already merged with AI. We'll be also teaching you some projects where those mergers we can see. And these are two so disruptive technologies. They're completely going to change value game. Because why AI needs blockchain? Simple reason is a data
which is reliable, is a data which can generate a quality AI output. If you cannot rely on a data which is inside a black box, then you cannot create a quality AI engine over that. That's why blockchain becomes a seriously reliable infrastructure to build AI software. And at present, there are roughly 400 AI projects using blockchain. 400. Okay. So, any more question left? I think no. Okay, friends. Let's.
What is the start date of the course? What is the start date of this course? November.
22nd November, next week. Next Friday.
How much duration?
18 weeks.
Will be online or offline?
15 weeks online. Week number 1 contact, week number 12 contact, week number 18 contact. Rest are online.
Only 9 days there.
Yeah, you have to come only for 9
It
days.
will be all.
Yeah, triple IT and labs will be here because labs are here. Classes would be in triple IT. Okay.
So is there any installment?
Yeah, we do have that post session we can discuss. Installments, finance, all those things we can talk to our about. Okay. So friends, nice talking to you. I hope we'll meet again.
Sure.